Hi there, I'm Timmy, and this is TimmyWA and what have you, along with my co-star and loving eternal companion, Rachel. Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
Good. Are we excited about today's video? One of Rachel's favorite rides.
Meh, not really.
Not so much?
Not so much.
All right, we're still journeying through Fantasyland today. We recently went through It's a Small World and Matterhorn bobsleds. And today we're going to come around the corner and visit the Mad Tea Party, or what's usually affectionately called the spinning teacups. Yeah. So the Mad Tea Party, a lot of history, of course, is an opening ride. Opened with the park July 17th, 1955. And it's a spinning ride. You jump in these teacups and you rotate the wheel inside and it makes you spin. It's fairly straightforward. It's fun. So that's the spinning ride. There's 18 teacups, and 3 to 4 people usually can fit in each one. So pretty decent capacity. The ride is about a minute and a half each time, even though some who may not be so fond of spinning might think that that's an eternity.
That is very, very long. But those of us who aren't too fond of spinning just don't ride that ride.
They just sit up back and watch. And they don't watch too closely either, because even watching can be torturous. Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. So that's the Mad Tea Party.
But correct me if I'm wrong. Not only does it spin like this, but each, like 2 or 3 of them spin like this.
Yep.
In a circle like this, right? So it kind of spins within a spin.
Yeah, and it alternates.
Yeah.
So the teacups spin clockwise, and then the platform they're on, the big platform they're on, spins counterclockwise. So it's an alternating, like opposite spin.
Mega barfy.
So all the vomit.
Spinning. Yeah, exactly.
So the cool thing about the ride is Wyatt and I love it, and Rachel's just not a spinny person, so she just sits off, and that's fine. No judgment there, but you just don't get to have all the fun, I guess.
I have plenty of fun watching.
Okay. The ride operates in all parks except for Shanghai Disney, kind of. And in Shanghai Disney, it's themed for Winnie the Pooh and their honey pots, and that's the theming. So the teacups and the rides that are in all the other locations, other than Shanghai Disney, were designed and colored and put together by Mary Blair, who also worked on the Alice in Wonderland movie. She was, like we said in our last video, the major designer, and she put all that together for It's a Small World. So she's very talented lady. And like I said, she also worked on the Alice in Wonderland movie and the Alice in Wonderland dark ride that we'll talk about later. So go ahead and talk about where the ride is based on. Like what's the concept there?
So, for those of you who have seen Alice in Wonderland, and again, we'll get to kind of this part within the Alice in Wonderland ride, there is the Very Merry Unbirthday scene.
Right.
Where they sing a Very Merry Unbirthday to You. And that's what the teacups are based off of, because they have a tea party, basically. Right. So this is the Very Merry Unbirthday scene. It was originally going to have a large table in the center with the Mad Hatter and the other characters celebrating this unbirthday party. But I guess they scrapped that, and that's no longer there. Originally, there were also no brakes or clutch in the center to control the speed or how long the riders could spin. But it's my understanding that now you can spin faster and faster and faster.
Right.
Or slow yourself down within the center. So there's a big wheel in the center of the teacup, in the center of your little teacup. And you can spin it or slow it down. And that's one of the reasons also that I don't ride it is Tim and Wyatt go as fast as they possibly can. Right. And probably would seriously make me puke.
Right. So originally you could spin the thing as fast as you wanted to. There was no control in the mechanism to slow you down and make you gradually speed up, because there's a lot of resistance. You have to pull really hard to get some speed.
So the thing was always there.
Originally, you could just whip that thing and you could just and there were no doors,
Go to town.
so you could actually slide out, and yeah, it was pretty bad. So I think very quickly, within the year, I think the next year, that same year that they released the ride, they fixed that issue. They kind of put a little control on it. Still very fun though.
There's a door now.
There's a door, yeah. The door closes, and now it's a little more safe.
Yeah,
for sure.
So, excuse me, for Disneyland's 50th anniversary, one of the teacups was painted gold, as were many other opening day features around in the park. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, they did
I don't
that.
know if you ever went for the 50th anniversary of Disneyland.
I don't believe so, but they did one of the elephants on Dumbo. They painted one of the elephants gold. They painted the Main Street Trolley gold.
I think one of the carousel animals as well.
Yes, they went through and they decorated some of the original opening day rides and features and painted at least a bit of it gold to celebrate that.
Just to celebrate the 50th anniversary. And contrary to popular belief
and rumors and legend,
the purple teacup does not spin faster than all the other teacups. Many people, there's a rumor out there that the purple teacup spins faster than all the other ones. And so everyone makes a beeline for the purple teacup and tries to run and get that one the fastest. And of course, no running. But the purple teacup does not spin faster than the other teacups.
And as much as that may be factual and correct, I don't believe it. I think the purple one's faster. And I will continue to believe that the purple one is faster. So it wasn't always in the place where it is now. Because right now it's right next to Alice in Wonderland ride. It was
next to the Matterhorn.
Right.
So kind of right right here.
Originally and until 1983, it was actually in where the King Arthur Carousel is today. So if you go through the castle, it was right. So the King Arthur's Carousel is right there in the courtyard. That was the location originally of the Mad Tea Party ride. And so when 1983 came around, they redid Fantasyland, and they moved the carousel into that spot and moved the teacups over by where it makes sense.
By Alice in Wonderland.
Alice in Wonderland ride. So a couple of facts to be aware of. And this may be obvious, but there's no fast or max passes for it. No single riders and no wheelchair access. So you just have to transfer. Any height can ride, and there's no medical restrictions either. So if you're pregnant, if you're they don't have any warnings per se. They just say, use your own judgment and decide if you want to get into the whirlwind there.
But the line moves pretty fast as far as no single rider, no fast or max pass. The line moves pretty fast because it's only a minute and a half long. And
right.
So, yeah.
Yep. And also because it's one of the only versions of the ride that doesn't have a roof. It doesn't have a cover. It also, because of the mechanics, I don't know what that means exactly, but if it gets wet enough, the ride slips. Like the gears, the clutches slip, and it won't even be able to spin. So they just close the ride while it rains. So just be aware of that. If it gets rainy, the teacups are probably one of the first rides to close down because of that. Teacups, for me, a lot of fun. And with Wyatt, when he was little, it was fun to just get him nervous, and he was helping. And then as he's gotten bigger, as a teenager, he and I are just cranking on that thing as hard as we can. And by the time we get going pretty fast, the ride's over because they put a lot of restriction on the speed that you're going. But it's a lot of fun, and definitely one of those where Wyatt and I will try to ride that at least once every time we go. And probably not one that you'll ever see Rachel on.
Nope, absolutely not.
So that is the Mad Tea Party. Anything that you want to add to that?
Just stay away if you get motion sick.
All right, so let's move on.
Okay, so now we'll move on to Alice in Wonderland. So for those of you who have seen the Alice in Wonderland movie, you'll recognize this one. And one of the cool things about this is the voice of Alice in this ride is actually the original voice from the 1951 movie, and her name is Catherine Beaumont. So it's pretty cool that they got the original,
the same actor.
The same actress. So yeah, that was pretty cool. So Alice in Wonderland opened on June 14th of 1958, so a couple of years after Disneyland opened.
Right.
The type of ride is a dark ride, and it operates only at Disneyland, so it's not Disney World or Shanghai or anything like that.
That's pretty cool. I like when that happens.
When it's
so it's just original, and it's home, and it's part of, and it's not just copied everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, I do like the fact that you can ride
Pirates Anywhere
and
or
Space
Haunted
Mountain,
Anywhere,
and because that's fun. Like I would be disappointed if I went to Disney World and couldn't ride Space Mountain or Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Like, as much as they're kind of not original in some cases, I'd still like that just for tradition and to feel Disney.
But some of the ones in Fantasyland specifically, it's kind of cool that they are specific to Disneyland. Yeah. So, 4 riders per caterpillar. So you're riding in this caterpillar, which, if you remember in the movie, you've got the caterpillar who's smoking a little
something.
Yeah, something. He says, "Who are you?"
Right.
And you get that on the ride too, which is pretty cool. So you're riding in the caterpillar, and you can have up to 4 riders per. Now, of course, if you have a little baby, you can put them on your lap. But you've got 2 in the front and 2 in the back.
And I tried to look up like some sort of ride capacity to give you guys an idea, but I couldn't find like any details on how many cars there are on the ride total.
Oh, okay.
But just, I mean, the ride, the line moves pretty quick. But
it usually is a pretty long ride.
Right. There's a lot of people. There are a lot of people.
It's a pretty popular one.
The other thing they wanted to point out that I didn't put on our little cue cards here is that while it does seat up to 4 adults, 2 in each row, it's kind of a small ride.
Yes.
So there's not a lot of leg room. If you're tall, or if you're
sit sideways.
If you're big like me, it's not. Just be aware of that.
Yes,
like that's a thing. And so I just wanted to interject there.
So, and the ride lasts about 3 minutes. So one cool thing we found out when researching this ride is much of the ride actually takes place. Much of the ride track actually is on the 2nd floor above Mr. Toad's ride.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Which is Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, which is behind Alice in Wonderland. So, yeah, that was kind of cool. I had no idea. Yeah. So if you go around the corner at Disneyland, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride is right behind Alice in Wonderland. So much of, as you start to ride Alice in Wonderland, you go up and around and inside. And I guess you're then going up above Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. And I had absolutely no idea that.
I know either. It's like you find out as you learn more about Disneyland, and you look at like aerial pictures from like Google Maps or something, you see that a lot of these rides, at least in Fantasyland, are all one building.
Yeah.
And they're all just connected.
Yeah.
And they have just this neat theming that separates them because they're just different enough to where like Peter Pan and Mr. Toad's and they're separated enough theme-wise that you don't know that. Like, it's not obvious that they're all connected in one big giant building. Mm-hmm. And I love that. Like, there's a bit of me that's like a little like bummed out that little bit of magic might be gone. But it's cool in a way too, because I'm learning that this is like Disney magic.
Yeah.
This is how they do sight lines and theming and decorations and it's all very on purpose, and I just love that.
And not only that, but if you think about, of course, we just got back from Disney World, and Disney World is so huge, massive, spread out, and Disneyland isn't. Disneyland is very compact.
Yep.
And they fit so much into it. Like, I forget what the square footage or mileage or whatever, like how much space it actually is. We can look at that up, but it's really not that big. And I mean, even Disneyland compared to Magic Kingdom at Disney World, it's nothing in size comparison.
Right.
And that's how they do it, is by stacking stuff on top of each other or doing it in the basement or, different things like that. And it's cool that they thought ahead like that and they planned like that and they made it work. so that they could bring that magic to us.
It doesn't feel like it's cramped.
You would never know. Yeah,
it doesn't feel cramped at all.
Yeah.
I mean, you get crowds, like that's different, but like the rides, the attractions themselves don't feel like they're way squeezed together.
Yeah.
But then when you look at them like from overhead, I'm like, holy cow, they fit like 12 rides in this little spot. That's amazing. So yeah.
Excuse me.
So yeah, some of the scenes. Now we talked about a second ago in about the Mad Tea Party that in 1983 Disneyland did a big refurbishment for Fantasyland, and they did a lot of different things, and so everything got kind of touched up. And so some of the things, they made some adjustments to the Alice in Wonderland ride. They removed a couple of scenes, and I don't have any memory of these, and maybe you do, so mention them below in the comments. And if you haven't yet, go ahead and like on this video. I want to make sure you guys do that. The Upside Down room was removed in 1983. The oversized room was also removed, and
you might remember those from the movie if you don't remember them from the ride.
I didn't go to Disneyland back in 1983, before 1983.
I'm sure I did, but I was like 5, so
we don't have any memory of that. Hopefully you do, and maybe you want to share some of that with us. That's perfect. They also moved the unbirthday scene to the end of the ride. I guess it was closer to the middle or the beginning of the ride. So originally they just reordered it. It made more sense.
Which has never made sense to me, because in the movie, the unbirthday is in the middle of the...
Oh.
It is in the middle of the movie.
Oh, okay.
And in the ride, you're riding along and you meet the queen, and she says, off with her head.
Right.
And then everything ends and she goes home and everything's happy. And then you go outside and then all of a sudden, a very merry birthday to us. And then you're like, oh, okay.
Okay.
Like, you go out and you literally think that the ride is over. And then you get this unbirthday scene. You go back inside and you get this unbirthday scene.
Okay.
And you're like, okay, that was one little
Maybe I need
surprise.
to watch that video, the movie again.
So it's to me, it doesn't make much sense that they throw that last little bit in. But maybe it's just their last little bit of... Because that's literally where you come back then out and down, maybe back down from Mr. Toad's. I mean, I don't know. You know, now that makes more sense to me. The whole
what I read about
thing,
it had something to do with they wanted some sort of conclusion, some sort of finale.
And it is a very
because they added a big boom and the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like that was never in the ride before.
Right, and they do. They add a big where the candles explode and boom, your birthday party's over. And everyone sits there and goes, but it's my birthday too, you know? And it's a pretty cool thing. It's a very good way for it to end. But it's never made sense to me because
chronologically.
in the movie, that's not...
Interesting.
It doesn't fit into the movie that way, but... Yeah,
whatever.
I've always just gone, oh, okay, whatever.
And then also in 2014, there were some more renovations that happened. They had some issues where they needed to bring some of the track up to code, at least the exposed track, that when you come outside and you're still up on the upper level, that needed to be re-strengthened, and they also put up a guide, like a bar, like a safety bar. So they did that, and then also throughout the ride they added some projection effects. So on the faces you see it looks a little better. On the walls and the backgrounds there's more projections. It looks more lively, it looks more realistic, and it's a lot more fun. And the one thing I didn't mention is back in 1983 when they did the refurbishment, they actually, when they built it in 1958, they didn't have a lot of technology and stuff to build with, and so a lot of the scenes and props and stuff were very flat and very 2D. And so in 1983 when they had the big refurb, they redid a lot of the scenes and characters and stuff to where they were fully fleshed out, like they were full 3D, fully shaped. And so that was a big improvement they made in 1983. And then finally in 2014, along with the other the renovations and the safety precautions and the protections, because of visitor outcry that Alice was never actually featured in the ride itself, they added her to the two scenes, the Tulgey Wood scene and the Mad Tea Party scene. So
yeah, that's true. She wasn't in the tea party or in the woods.
There's a debate still that when they designed the ride, again, Mary Blair was the designer. When they designed the ride, when Imagineering designed the ride, that you were supposed to be in the position of Alice. going through this journey. And so it would make sense that Alice would be in the ride looking at herself in the scenery. So there is still some debate with that. But I get why Disney did it. You know, it makes sense, and people aren't that, well, I would say normal people aren't that really nitpicky about things like that. And yeah, it makes sense to put Alice in the ride.
Yeah.
It's only like goofy
Especially
people
if they
that are
don't
really
tell you
picky
ahead of
about
time, hey, you are Alice. Imagine yourself as Alice. I mean, you know.
That's true.
But yeah, interesting.
All right. Let's give us the quick facts about this ride, and then we'll wrap it up.
So, no Max Pass, Fast Pass, or single rider in this one. No wheelchair, so you'd have to transfer from your wheelchair. Any height, no health restrictions. So again, you don't... pregnancy wouldn't stop you from riding this ride or anything. And then again, just like with the teacups, in the rain it does close because it has enough of the exposed track that that would mess up the mechanics of it, and it does have to close in the rain.
Yeah.
So,
and there's other things to be aware of. One, if there's a parade nearby, the noise will kind of drown out the sounds and the words and stuff like that. The conversation, whatever, the dialogue, that's what I'm trying to say,
within
the ride, because the parades tend to be really loud. So just be aware of that. And then also, and this applies also to the Mad Tea parties, if there's, and most everything in Fantasyland, if there's a fireworks show, they'll tend to close those rides down.
They actually do close Fantasyland during the fireworks
the fireworks. Then they reopen it again after the fireworks show.
And actually, a lot of the reason why they close the fireworks show too is because that's where all the prep stages of the fireworks.
True. That's where they launch them all.
Yeah, so that's the.
They'll actually rope that area off. So a couple things there to be aware of. Weather is a big thing. Parades will be disruptive, and fireworks they'll close. Yeah. All right.
But Mad Hatter, Teacups, and Alice in Wonderland is right along every parade path. So. Because it's right there between the parades go right there between the Matterhorn and Alice in Wonderland and the Teacups. Right. So just be aware that literally every single parade that goes through Disneyland will drown out your ride if you are on that ride.
And they're pretty loud, for sure. All right, so that takes care of the 2 Alice in Wonderland rides here in Fantasyland. So coming up, we've got Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, we've got Peter Pan, we've got the Carousel, we've got Dumbo, we've got
Storybook,
Snow White,
Storybook,
and there's more. So we'll talk about that.
Jr.
Yeah, all those rides. Yeah. So stay tuned. We'll whip those videos out kind of on a weekly basis. We'll try to combine them if we can. If there's enough information like this one, we combine together. But as always, I ask you to like the video, comment below, give us your thoughts, your memories, your feelings, your thoughts, your dislike for spinny rides, whatever. Put it in the comments below. I'll try to reply to everything. And tell your friends, and make sure that they come and they subscribe and hit that bell so you get all the notifications whenever we put out a new video. So thank you for watching, and we will see you guys next week. I am working on, it's taking me a long time because I'm learning how to use Premiere, but I'm working on a big video for from our Disney World trip. I want to get that out in the next week or two, but it's just taken a while because it's hard. I've never used that program before, so we'll try to get that done.
Plus, we have
lots of video,
we have a lot to combine together.
Yeah. So stay tuned for all that, and I'll be sure to announce that on our social media, and all those links and stuff will be in the description below. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye bye.